This week on the Linux Action Show, is IBM becoming big, bad, blue? Canonical wants to put Ubuntu One in your pants. Does the Ubuntu distro really have 12 million users? We discuss. Then we've got an idea that just might change the future of software development forever. Plus so much more. Oh, this week on the Linux Action Show. And welcome to Season 11, Episode 7 of the Linux Action Show. My name is Bryan. With me is Chris.
Hey!
With Chris.
Bryan. The new Drobo, have you heard of this thing, the new Drobo FS?
Drobo F, what's the FS?
It runs Linux, Bryan. It's a new Drobo, and now...
So is this like an upgraded version of the old Drobo?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it's a new product. So do you remember on my old Drobo, I had like Drobo itself, and then I had like this attachment that was like made it network shareable?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well that attachment...
The Drobo share.
That attachment runs Linux.
Yeah.
Now what they've done is they've integrated that into the Drobo, and so the Drobo itself has that integrated. Now it runs at a gigabit instead of 100 megabits.
Oh,
and
nice.
It has two different CPUs. One CPU to run like the processing of the RAID and the network request, and then another CPU with another set of dedicated memory to run Linux that you can actually SSH into, install applications, and things like that.
Nice, because
Yeah.
that was one of the coolest things I liked about the Drobo share was that you could put all these different little apps on it. It never had like a ton of apps, but it had enough that was really cool.
And now the Drobo is a pretty expensive piece of kit. This one supports
It
5
is.
drives. What it does is it lets you can throw different mismatch drives in there, and it'll still do RAID. They'll be redundant. You can kind of just grow it as you need. You can slide out a drive down the road, maybe pull out a 1 terabyte, throw in a 2 terabyte. It just keeps growing and growing as you need more storage. You don't have to rebuild the RAID.
I love the Drobo.
It's really cool. It's expensive, and the performance isn't still where I'd like to see it with this one. If you get their Pro version, you can get about somewhere between 80 to 100 megabytes a second.
That's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
But that's the Pro version.
If you get
that's
this one,
that's like the 8 drive bay mega one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This one just does 5.
This one will do 30 megs a second.
That's not great.
Not enough to edit on.
I mean, it's
about the speed of an average 7200 RPM hard drive in reality.
So it's not bad. So it's great for backups or like streaming media and music,
or maybe
and
like
stuff
your
like that.
music. Yeah, your media library. It'd
All
be
your
awesome
photos.
to like be to hooked up to like a Myth box or an
at
least Media Center box.
A boxy box.
Boxy box, exactly.
Yeah,
it is pretty cool.
Fill that sucker up with movies that you legally ripped and own the rights to rip.
Right. Now, I'd like to tell everybody about the new goats you just got, but first, we should say holla to our boys over at the GoDads, thegodaddy.com, for sponsoring this episode of the Linux Action Show.
This episode of the Linux Action Show is, as Chris said, sponsored by GoDaddy.com, the world's largest web host and domain name registrar. Starting at less than $5 a month, web hosting from GoDaddy.com includes 99.9% uptime. Think about that for a second.
That's a lot.
Here's 100% over here.
I'm not up that
Those
much.
of you listening to the audio, imagine my hands in the air moving into areas of the screen that make sense for these numbers. So over here, there's 100%.
Right.
And over here,
zero.
next
You
to
got
it.
zero over here, right?
No. We're going a different way.
Okay.
This is 99.9%. So there's a gap between them. There's obviously a gap.
There is.
So where's 0? It's in Toledo,
It's
Ohio.
way.
It's
not, way away.
It's in a state and a city I have never been to.
And my personal uptime is probably somewhere around 15.
That's exactly right. And if it does go down, which it's not gonna because you don't live in Toledo, Ohio, it's
you might.
you might. And if you live in Toledo, Ohio, you need a website. 24/7 support, free access to GoDaddy hosting connections where you can install like Joomla and Drupal and WordPress, boom, all that other stuff. Plus, as a Linux Action Show listener or viewer or feeler or massager, you can get an additional 10% off in any order by simply typing the word Linux when you check out. Friggin' crazy.
Nice. Well, thanks, GoDads. And if you want to use our code Linux20, that's LINUX20, you can save 20% off hosting plans from GoDaddy.com. And a big thanks to GoDaddy for sponsoring the show.
A fairly big thing.
All right, buddy. Now, you got goats? It's adorable.
I do.
Adorable.
I do. I got some goats. last week. Yep, I've had them for about 6 or 7 days now.
Yeah.
And I've got two male goats.
How's it going? Like, are they doing well adjusting because they're younger?
Yeah, they're young goats. Actually, I got them at 8 weeks old and 7 weeks old. So we're just finishing bottle feeding those suckers right now.
Are they already?
It's adorable beyond words.
Are they already like eating away at stuff?
Oh, dude, we had some blackberries in the back of the yard.
Yeah,
and they are just decimating those blackberries. Like we got them to our house.
Now I've heard that it's been a problem with people having them eat the side of their house.
No, well, okay. Here's the thing. There's a lot of discussion about goats eating like
there's
tin
your goats for people watching the video version.
Or by the way, you see what I'm feeding there? Those are bottles.
Those are just any bottles.
Those are Red Hook ESB bottles that I'm feeding my goats. That's right. I use beer bottles to feed my goats.
Can I ask, is there beer in there?
No, there's no beer in there. They're not old enough yet. They're not of age.
True. Yeah. Do they have goat ears like dogs have dog ears?
I don't know, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the goats can live, they live like a dog lives, 15, 20 years, something like that. They'll eat the side of the house if there's absolutely nothing else to eat.
That's
they're like, crap, I'm so hungry and nothing tastes good. They'll start eating whatever they can find.
Yeah.
But no, they got like blackberries and hay and goat mineral treats and all sorts of stuff. I see a lot of
goat poopy on the thing already. Do they just poop as they're standing?
Dude, no. They don't poop as they're standing. They poop as they're standing. They poop as they're walking. They poop as they're eating. They poop as they're drinking. And the goat poop is like rabbit poop, right?
Yeah.
It's just like these little circles.
Little stuff.
So like you're just being over there petting him like, oh, that's a good little boy. And he's like, all right, here's a couple of drops for you.
Poop, poop. Yeah, it just kind of goes all the time.
He's like, hey, let's all run around in the yard and have fun. As he's running, poop, 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 poop.
So that's cool though. I used to have goats. I think I was like 10 or 11 back when I had goats, and they pretty much just kept the yard in check.
Oh yeah,
so we'll see,
These guys ought to take it all down.
I think you'll like them.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. They're small right now. They're just little kids, but they're supposed to get up to possibly 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Over the next year.
That's going to be big.
They're going to be awfully large.
Those are going to be some big.
But here's the crazy cool thing.
All right.
All right. So you can take goats out like hiking with you, right?
Right. Now I've heard of mountain goats.
Now you'd say, what does this have to do with Linux Action Show, Brian? Nothing. But they're goats, and that's awesome. So you could be out there, and you could be like, put all the stuff that you normally carry in your backpack, put on your goat.
Nice, dude.
Go carry it for you. Just eats whatever it finds along the way.
Sure.
Poops on the trail. Fantastic.
Hey, speaking of Linux, there's a little bit of LinuxFest coming up.
Oh yeah, we got 2 weeks. It is April 24th and 25th up in Bellingham, Washington. So if you live in Washington or British Columbia or Idaho or Oregon, even you need to get your hiney on up to Bellingham, Washington. We'll be up there both days. I'm actually going to be speaking on both Saturday and Sunday in the morning. I'm going to be speaking on Saturday right around 11 o'clock or something. Right before lunch is when my scheduled stuff is. So here's what happens each day, right before lunch, I get to talk. So you want to come to my little sessions. And then we'll all go out and we'll drink beer. It's gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, dude! Afterwards, people ought to come up, and then we'll get a little group and we'll go out.
Oh hell yes!
Totally doing that.
So Wednesday, I'm gonna be doing kind of a reprise of last year's session.
And I'm gonna be there shooting it.
You're gonna be there shooting it. So it's why desktop Linux still sucks and what we can do to fix it.
That's harsh words, dude.
It's harsh words. We gave that last year, and people kind of flipped out and went crazy, and so a lot of things have changed.
It's tough love. It's a tough love, and that's interesting. You should talk about things that change.
That's what we're gonna do. So it's actually the same session as last year, with all the things that have changed and a few new things added in and some things removed. Because I mean, come on. I mean, you look at what's happened with all the distros this year. It's massive change. And on Sunday, I'm going to be giving a session basically entitled "Options for Developing Desktop Linux Applications." So if you've wondered, how to develop a desktop app, if you want to make the next gedit or Firefox, and you don't know where to start or you don't know what the right language to use is, we're going to go over like every option like on the planet,
dude.
What's good about them, what's bad about them, how to learn them, where the resources are, all that good stuff. It's gonna be rocking.
So
and again, afterwards, gonna get a little drunk.
So that is go over to LinuxFest Northwest, right? .org.
Yep, LinuxFestNorthwest.org.
Yeah.
They don't have the schedule for all the sessions posted on their website yet. I don't know why.
Have we been going for like 5 years now?
The Bellingham Linux Users Group, the BLUG.org, has the /Fest 2010 is where the schedule is up at. Hopefully they get it posted on the main LinuxFestNorthwest.org soon.
Yeah, and it's April 24th through the 25th. And if you guys make it, let us know.
From friggin' today. We're going to be there the whole time, rocking out, going crazy.
I don't know what we're doing for Linux Action Show that weekend. We might just do like a highlight from LinuxFest.
Yeah, I don't really know either.
Because you're going to be, since you're speaking, and I'm going to be shooting, we're both going to be...
By the time Sunday afternoon rolls around, I'm gonna crash.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I don't know exactly what we're going to do, but we'll try to figure something out for that weekend. Maybe we can even just do something small live. Like I was just playing with my Droid pick, which is the Ustream broadcaster for your Droid. Everybody knows what Ustream is. We use Ustream right now, though a little hit and miss at the moment.
A little hit and miss,
but
overall a pretty good service.
But yeah, if you want a live broadcast from your Droid, you can set it up. It'll connect over Wi-Fi or 3G. There's no limitation on there. I know some places do have a limitation on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can catch it out. It's in the market. Check it out. It's in the market. It's the Ustream broadcaster.
It's free, isn't it?
Yep, it's free. There's also the Ustream viewer. So there's 2 Ustream apps.
That is just so cool.
I know. So Alan from Legend of the Stoned Owl was on here earlier, and we were just playing around while he was editing, and the image I'm showing is sideways. You hold the camera you hold your phone horizontally,
on side,
and it actually shows you a little bit of the chat room in there. And of course, the image I'm showing, for whatever reason, they decided to take a screenshot like that. But
it would be rad if we could be up at LinuxFest and you have one camera recording and just set the other one in the back of the room and you stream the whole thing.
Yeah, I could either take a laptop or I could just do it from my Droid.
Yeah.
And you can Twitter out from right there. You can work with the chat room.
So cool.
So that is my Android pick for this week, is the Ustream broadcaster. Go check it out in the marketplace.
So damn
totally
cool.
free. And why not just put yourself out on the internet doing something ridiculous?
Why not? Putting yourself on the internet doing something ridiculous is the American way.
We do it several times a week.
We do. and we have been for almost 4 years.
I know, dude. We're powerhouses.
So we've got coming up, let's see. It'll technically be next season. It'll be season 12. That we have our next anniversary. But it's April, May, and then June. Yeah. Boom! That's the 4th anniversary of the Linux Action Show.
And I think Jupiter's broadcasting was in February or something.
Something like that. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Crazy.
That's pretty cool.
Crazy.
Hey, you know what we ought to
do? Something big. We should do something. We should have
a little party or something.
We should have a little party. Just get together at like a pub and just pack that house.
Yeah. Yep. All right. I think it's time
drinking is
we get
dangerous.
On. Let's do the news.
What's new in the news this week?
Well, Brian, I'm glad you asked me that.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah?
I'm glad too.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
Great question. Let me tell you. Our top story on the News Talking for this week, IBM is locking horns with a tiny French firm over open source software.
Oh, good.
Now, this is initially causing some ripples, Brian, because, well, as I am sure you are very well aware, IBM is considered a big player in the open source community. And
they promised to not sue
over patents.
Free and open source projects or related to projects. They made the patent pledge.
Now, so what they're suing is this French firm makes an open source mainframe, like a System 390 emulator or something like that.
Yep.
And of course, that's IBM's big bread and butter.
They've got a lot of patents on this.
They got a lot of beef on that.
I don't know how many. They've got like 1 billion patents. All right, here's what I'm gonna do for this story. I'm not going to use hard and fast facts so much as I'm going to exaggerate and make up numbers.
Okay.
But the point will remain the same.
All right.
All right. So IBM has 3 billion patents relating to this retarded big mainframe platform of theirs that no one friggin' needs anymore. Now, some French firm decided, hey, let's make this retarded platform IBM has more useful, right? That's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, poor people, they have to use this. Well, let's make it easier for them.
Sure.
That's horrible, IBM says. IBM's like, no, you can't take those open source projects and use them. We have patents on this piece of crap, garbage, old platform. So we're going to sue you now, despite the fact that years ago we made a pledge to never sue free and open source projects for violating patents of ours.
Now,
we made that
Is
pledge,
that what they...
promise.
See, I'm wondering, did they say that?
Yes.
Or did they say we won't sue over Linux-related patents? Because this is technically not a Linux-specific... This is just open source. And maybe they're...
I remember, as far as I remember...
Yeah, it seemed to be open source.
My remembery
is really
based
good.
in my brain, this bone up here is thinking it was open source.
All right.
And here's the thing. If I'm wrong on that, I'm going to change history in this bone up here to be it was open source.
Did you ever have to work much with an old System 390 kind of mainframe?
Oh, yeah.
Setup?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Don't anymore. You know why I don't anymore? because it's old and busted and no one uses
Yeah,
them
but you had to
anymore.
appreciate. See, so we're looking at a picture of a
Awesome.
of
They
a
were
System
awesome.
390,
Awesome.
and you had to appreciate like inside down in the front corner of the System 390, which is just next to my shoulder. If you're watching the video version, that was a 486 PC running OS2 right there. That's a little 486 in there, and that was the machine that would then boot the mainframe.
Oh,
so that was the management PC was
basically
built
the boot
in.
controller.
Yeah.
That's so
That
cool.
is pretty neat, I think.
Alright, so people in the chat room are already discussing this a little bit. So someone's saying in the chat room that there was only specific patents covered in that pledge, and that not all of these are covered. Here's the thing: still a royal dick move. Doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense.
It's a tiny French firm.
Not cool with it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe IBM hates French people.
Well,
It's
that's fair.
entirely possible.
I can't blame them for that.
You know. I mean, they are in Europe.
Philip Seymour Hoffman
That's all I got.
in the chat room says that IBM is full of hosers.
Oh, that's
That
no,
kind
no,
of-
no. That would imply that they're Canadian, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It could
I
be.
don't. Are they?
maybe.
I don't think so.
They probably have people in Canada.
They are international.
I think
and they
it's-
make business machines.
It shows. I think it shows that IBM still, in a lot of ways, remains out of touch. They're doing a lot of amazing work. I'm not ready to throw them out. Out the baby out with the bathwater on this one, just because they've sued one company in the last 10 years over patents. But
It's not that bad. I mean, you don't hear about IBM coming out and going after people that often.
Right.
And you hear about, Microsoft and
you don't hear
all
about
these
their-
other companies
their-
doing it far more often.
You don't hear about them making subtle little fart threats over mono, and you don't hear like all these little tiny.
No,
hints.
they don't make too many subtle fart threats.
No.
No.
But
No.
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 I'm glad.
That would be ridiculous to have subtle
Right?
fart threats.
So the next story on the news docket, I'm really excited about. How long ago did we review Ubuntu One?
It seems like about 2 months ago.
Okay, so 2 months ago in our
Ubuntu
review,
One has come a long way.
a huge long way.
They've been cranking on this thing.
Let's see. 2 months ago, when we talked about Ubuntu One, it was mainly just a Dropbox competitor did file sync.
That's all it was. It was a Dropbox competitor, but it only had native syncing on the Linux side of things.
And we said, if this would be awesome if it delivered on what the Apple's promise of MobileMe and iDisk, and
Yeah.
where you could actually sync all of your settings.
Yeah, your music and settings and mail and everything else
Yeah.
across many devices would be awesome.
It'd be amazing.
Oh, it'd be killer.
And so they've taken that step now, and what they're partnering with a firm who has an open source backend, though it's still all you have to pay for their software and their service.
Sure.
But they're going to integrate in mobile phone syncing, and we're talking a lot of different phones over the air syncing now with Ubuntu One. So your Ubuntu One service is going to sync with your contacts. I would assume initially it's going to be Evolution and Thunderbird. I'm not positive.
But still.
Pretty interesting,
on.
though. It's an
That's
interesting
awesome.
direction. And did you also know that?
Even if it's just Evolution, even if they just pick one, that's still great.
Did you also know that along with the Ubuntu One music store, your purchases are going to be synced among your machines using Ubuntu One?
Yeah. That's actually kind of one of the cool bits.
That's the great way to go.
As soon as you buy a piece of music from the Ubuntu One music store, it downloads it automatically
Yeah.
to your Ubuntu
Yeah.
One folder, and then boom, it's always there. So you don't have to re-download your music.
I really like that.
However, if you think about it from this point of view, it's also a really great way for Ubuntu to try and get people to buy more storage on the Ubuntu One subscription.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they're auto putting the music there. So it's kind of a little bit of a you need to pay a little bit more money to us.
That's true.
But the service is actually a good idea. So I kind of am okay with it.
I'm a kind of and it's not like if you do end up buying a payment plan, it's not like you're going to be paying like some company you don't like.
So when's this stuff come out? I mean, do we get
I'm not sure- I'm
Android
not sure what
and iPhone apps?
I
Do we
think
get-
I think
what do we
their
get?
hope was to roll it out with the next release of Ubuntu. I don't know if it's on
Like
target for
10.10?
that. No,
No, this
yeah.
coming 10.04.
But I don't know if they're going to make it for that.
Because I mean 10.04. I mean we've only got 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's close. Yeah.
It's or
Well,
2.5 weeks.
they're revving the feature set of Ubuntu One independently from Ubuntu, but it's ideal if the two
Chat
things.
room is saying it arrives on launch with 10.04.
I
I haven't heard that officially yet.
I don't know. I know that's what they're saying. I don't know if I believe it.
They've got a screenshot.
Yeah, well, the reason why they might actually make it is because they're rebranding the Fun Mobile or something like that.
Funamble.
Yeah.
Funamble.
They're and they're gonna have an iPhone app. It's gonna sync over the air. You don't have to have an app either. There's
No, it's
like
cool.
with the Droid, you're gonna have
A Droid service
sync
for it,
issues.
yeah.
And yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Super great integration with Ubuntu One. This is a great step. The music is a great step, and I want more application settings. A lot of people are doing the symbolic linking of
Yep.
a dot
Yep.
folder from their home directory.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
if you understood what we just said, you are a Linux geek. Anyways,
I have to do that. Like
I do that.
All of my machines are all linked that way.
Yep.
I mean, because you have to. Because I mean, how often do you blow away your install because, oh my gosh, you have to try out a new distro or a new version or a beta or something, but you can't lose your home folder because otherwise your whole head will melt because you can't lose your home folder.
No, I really at this point,
It's been so long since I've reset up my home folder from scratch.
Oh, dude. Dropbox has to be number 1 or number 2 things I install because there's so much other stuff I can't install.
Like even and all the like little like shareware and commercial apps, like I install VMware Workstation really fast. Well, in order to have that, I have to get my VMware registration number, which is in my Dropbox.
Yep.
So first thing, the only password I ever have to remember, Dropbox.
Yep.
Boom, done.
I'm the same. Boy, you know, when you search for Ubuntu on Google Images, you get some funny things. I'm just saying.
What is that?
You get some funny things.
I don't know what that was.
It's a
picture of just like some people hanging out.
Yeah, they're just
like
chilling.
laying down with like toga sheets on.
They're chilling, Brian. They like to chill. So the last story on the news docket, we're trying to keep it a little bit of a lighter news week.
A little bit.
Just we got stuff. We got the future of the entire development of the world ahead of us. Software development futures stuff. Can't talk about that much news.
Can't talk about that.
I'm sure you're gonna have me riveted in that segment. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really am.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not.
We'll have to wait and find out.
Everybody, stay tuned.
So, the good folks, while we're talking about Ubuntu, the good folks over at Ubuntu came out and went, here's some numbers for you.
Dude, that was a good slam on the table.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I liked it a lot.
All right. So the numbers that they are claiming are 12 million users. Have you seen this stuff, Brian? Have you seen this?
How many users does Fedora currently claim to have?
24 million.
Really?
Yes. You believe that?
Dude, there is no way Fedora has more users than Ubuntu. It's not possible.
No.
There's no possible way.
No.
Like if we were in mirror universe right now, like all the people like Mark Shuttleworth would come out with like an evil mustache on, and like the guy from Red Hat would have his evil mustache on, and they still would agree, yeah, no, obviously there are more Ubuntu users than Fedora users. That's just the way it is.
So here's the quote. It's always a challenge to try to figure out exactly how many users a particular Linux distribution has, but Canonical is now providing a new figure for Ubuntu. This is from the Slashdot news story. Canonical is now providing a new figure for Ubuntu that said it is 50% more than what they were claiming just 18 months ago. We have no phone, home or registration process, so it's always a guesstimate. But based on the same methodology we came up with for the 2008 number, our present belief is that it's somewhere north of 12 million users at the moment.
That's a lot of users.
That's the new vice president for OEMs at Canonical. He told this to internetnews.com, and then Fedora had a response that claims 24 million.
Yeah. So here's the thing.
They're big numbers regardless.
I believe the 12 million. That seems about right. You know, they're not going to come out and say we have billions and billions of users because that would just be ridiculous.
Right.
They're not obviously also not going to have 1,000 users. They've got a lot. 12 million seems reasonable. Fedora coming out and saying, we're twice that. No, you have 2 basketballs. I have 4 basketballs. I have 4 basketballs, guys. My bike goes twice as fast as your bike.
Right.
Honestly, that's what it sounds like, and
there's
possible, no way.
It's possible that because of Fedora's association with Red Hat, there's some people that just naturally try Fedora out as like the first distro.
Sure. But
you'd have to somehow figure out their associate because it's not apparent at first.
No.
And you'd have to be in the Linux news world to know that.
Yeah, and if you're involved in the Linux world, you know, down in your bones, like your leg bones know it.
Yeah,
the little stupid bone at the end of your pinky, like, wow, what is that bone called? It's like goes from like this knuckle to that knuckle. It's like,
stupid bone.
It's not even a friggin' inch long.
Bone.
But that bone's like, yeah, duh. Like a Ubuntu has way more than Fedora.
Yeah, I know. Well, and you know,
I mean, who are they trying to fool?
Yeah, as Conan Kudo in there or whatever his name is says that in the chat room, you know, we don't know what their sources are for we don't know. Fedora's numbers. The reason why I still don't believe 24 million, but the reason why I'm more inclined to believe Fedora is they based it off of stats from their updater,
right? Which
is where I assume Canonical is also getting their numbers.
Here's the problem, though. Aren't they just basing that off IP hits?
Yeah, but
I go through a lot of IP addresses, and I don't run
because you're on laptops in your different locations.
Fedora. So, but I have run many different releases of Fedora a little. So, you know what I mean? To test them out and everything else.
And if you're on your laptop, you might do it at work.
Count for about 500 Fedora installs if that's the route they're going with.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
the walls fell.
True enough.
Shaka. All right. So, we'll see. I think it is big. If nothing else, at least they're not in the thousands.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's good.
I
It's
would
good
believe-
numbers. You know what? If Fedora did have 24 million, awesome. That's just more Linux users.
Amen to that.
That's all right with me.
Word, dude.
I just don't think that's true.
Well, I mean, think about it. We do have 2 billion people to watch this show, so the number they got to come from somewhere.
We don't have 2 billion people watch this show.
No?
We're up to 4 billion now.
Oh, sweet. I haven't checked
no.
the numbers in a week.
No, Nelson's rating came out.
Oh, nice.
Updated. You know what happened was the Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles got canceled.
Oh, so all the
2 million people that were watching that show were like, "Oh, I love the Linux Action Show.
that makes
I
sense.
gotta go back to watching that."
That's a good bump.
Yeah, it's a good
you
bump
know,
for us.
that's why we're so rich.
God.
All right, Brian.
Oh,
That's all the news
biting satire that makes my soul cry.
for this week. All right, Brian told me it is time to change the world of software development forever.
All right. Hold on. I know we were going to let you intro this little segment.
Yeah,
but
we-
I was going to talk.
Yeah.
I actually, this is a broader topic. This is a broader
Are you changing the
topic.
world of development forever?
Yes.
Oh, so I was doing a great job is what you're saying on my intro?
All right. Now hold up.
So Brian tells me
Hold
it's
up.
going to be the most amazing
Hold up.
software change development
I'm
thing ever.
going to run a few things by you.
All right.
I want to hear
Now, this is
what your
something
thoughts on
you've been
something.
talking to me about on and off for a couple of years, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
couple of years, and
Okay.
this is a project I've been working on for quite a few years, and there's a lot going on here. We'll get to that in a minute.
Go.
So, there are problems bringing people working on a variety of platforms to Linux, right?
Sure.
Like if you're trying to get game devs to come to Linux, it's kind of hard because
Yeah.
it's a big investment.
Right.
People like, let's say they make Photoshop,
Workflow changes, all kinds of stuff.
make an application, or just like a custom business app for like your work. They made it for Windows in like C++ and MFC and
Or
some
Visual
other
Basic, come on.
crazy thing. Yeah, right. Even if there are tools available to make porting it to Linux a little easier,
Right.
Like Mono's available and
Okay.
Real Basics available for VB stuff, and Gambus is available for VB stuff and things like that. It's still a pain in the butt. It's still a lot of work, and it's still kind of annoying. So that's a problem. Would you say that's a problem?
I would say it's a big problem.
And if you're a primarily Linux geek and you need to do development for work, the exact opposite problem is true. It's hard to develop on Linux for the other platforms. There are some
Yeah.
cases where it's not so bad. Like if you're doing a lot of PHP and JavaScript stuff, it's a little easier.
Yeah.
If you're doing pure Java work, it can be
Right.
a little easier, but still pain in the butt, right? Does that seem like a pain in the butt to you?
Big pain in the butt.
All right. So that's settled.
And whenever you make
That's out
something a
there.
pain in the butt, it's usually the first thing people scratch off the list.
It's no good. So here's the other thing. We'll just put that out there. Everyone let that soak in.
There it is.
Is it in your heads yet?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
It's kind of like a marinade.
Now, you remember the future?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
sweet.
Let's say, remember like Minority Report? Remember
Yeah.
the movie where they had that really cool screen and you just dragging like stuff around. You're like, here's a picture, and I want that picture to go through an image processing thing. So you just draw
Drag
a
it
line
over.
from the image, boop, to the image processing thing, and it does things, and boom, future.
Connect the dots kind of a thing.
Basically, it provides you with an environment that you are creating your own software solutions in as you go.
Oh, okay.
Visually, right?
All right.
Did you see in that movie, or in any movies with cool little stuff like that, Tom Cruise ever write lines of code?
No.
You know all those really stupid movies like Swordfish and everything else where they're like, oh my gosh, we're hackers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but instead of actually sitting down and writing code, or even in a friggin' terminal, they'll be like, have like these bar graphs, and they'll be like, okay, swoosh, drag a line from the server to the destructo skull, and suddenly the server comes
Okay.
down and they hacked in.
Sure,
You know what I'm
that
talking about
sounds
here?
probably.
Doesn't that seem more future-y to you?
That does seem like the future.
All right. Now, I've been doing a couple episodes of code with Bryan.
Sure.
Haven't done a lot of them.
No, a handful.
Want to do some
like
more.
6 or
We've
7,
done some-
right?
Yeah, done a couple of them. And one thing that I kept getting asked was, for like good like visual development environments for like Python or something where you could
Yeah.
create nice little Python apps or things like that. And this really kind of hit home with me. Are you searching Swordfish now?
Yeah, I was going to get you the pictures because of the bar graphs, but all I got was actually a picture of a swordfish.
Yeah, there's a Swordfish.
So-
All right, that's what we're talking about. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the Linux Action Show. Swordfish. No, so okay. So this has got me thinking, and pull all of those ideas together. I know those seem like a lot of different, disparate ideas.
All right.
Now, wouldn't it be cool
It would be cool.
to be able to write an application 100% visually, so that there is no code?
No code?
Not in terms of a written language, but you are literally just drawing your functionality out. Kind of like flowcharting it, but not quite. But just drawing your functionality and just creating it. Then once it's created in a visual way, you can then save your application to a variety of different platforms. So, for instance, what if you want to make a Python and GTK application? Well, you just click, project, export to Python GTK. Boom, it's okay. That
sounds impossibly easy.
And then boom, Python GTK. And then what if there's also one to export to Memo with Python GTK, or a PHP and JavaScript export?
Right.
Theoretically, and I'm saying theoretically in a very tongue-in-cheek way, you would be able to take that project, because it's 100% visual and you're just simply describing the functionality coupled with a UI design that you've laid out, and the code can be generated. So then, if your application will then theoretically work the same across all the different platforms you generate it for,
all right,
all the different languages you generate it for. And if you do need to, in fact, add additional features that only that one language, like let's say you export it to Objective-C and Cocoa, and you need to add like this one little feature that's only available in Cocoa, and you just got to start typing for it. If you're a pro dev like that, you can add it in because it just exported the code for you.
So it generates, so you line up all the boxes.
You line up all the boxes.
It generates the code.
Just so we got a visual example here of
like
what it is I'm talking about. Yeah. So this is like the simplest possible example of a portion of what an application would be I'm talking about.
Okay.
Literally is, so you take a window, you drag a window to a view. So you've got this little box there that's just like a hello world window. This is like the de facto hello world type application. You can then double click on this one, and there's a little window editor. It's very, very simple. It's a lot like a sketchbook style window editor.
Yeah,
so you can just lay it all out.
Yeah, almost like a Visio diagram.
You turn on your say, okay, so I've got an OK button on the window, and you turn on the click event. Okay, and a click event. Now back here in this little flowchartish view, I can then drag a line from the click event to a display message option. Boom. Now when I click it, it'll display that message. And there's another little configuration box to display that message.
The code's already written on the back end. It says, so at some point was the code written for the message box? So whenever someone's lying at the code, it already knows that code? It actually,
so currently it's set up, and this is an actual product, I should say, or an actual thing I've developed over the last few years that I call it the Illumination Software Creator. There were basically, so like that message box, right? So a simple message box is only a couple lines of code. So it's a very simple example. But that message box object actually creates the code necessary in Python GTK or in JavaScript or whatever language in the future that we want to add in.
Okay.
And so as time goes on, we can just simply add additional languages to the option, which means Android applications, iPhone applications, etc.
You always use the blocks.
The blocks stay
code behind the blocks change
forever. End of story. You don't have to port anymore. The only thing you'd have to change is the user interface. And the user interface would stay the same. The only thing that would change is versions of the user interface.
Right.
So check this out. This is what makes me really excited.
Go for it.
All the code stays the same in that the code is visual.
Right.
That's awesome, right?
Yeah. Because all the things are still linked to the same boxes.
Let's say you make a text editor.
Okay.
Let's say you're making essentially a version of gedit, right?
Yeah.
Or a text editor, or whatever notepad type app.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that functionality is pretty simple, right?
It is.
The only thing that's really going to change if you're porting, say, from a desktop version to, say, let's say an Android version, is the screen size, the general button layout, that sort of thing. So you have multiple revisions of the user interface layout, and that's it.
I like that. I like
the
that
UI
because
stays the same.
That means
the code stays the same. You
only
just go
the back
into a
end,
different revision of the UI layout.
And that back end UI layout thing comes via like an IDE development environment update, or to be like a package you download into the development environment.
It's a development environment update. I mean, it would have to be an update to the dev environment that has the ability to export to that individual.
That's pretty rad, dude.
So this is Rose. So if you can go over to my blog at lunduke.com, there's a Facebook page up there now where you can follow it, where the alpha releases are going to be released over the next couple of days, and you can start playing around with it. I'm releasing like some sample projects with it, including a text editor and a calculator and just a couple of small little applications so people can kind of get going with it. And for those who don't really want to try it out, I'll put some screenshots up just so you can see what it is.
Sure.
And the idea is that anyone could do this without learning a development language. All you have to know is that, for instance, in creating a calculator, Chris, you know that a button gets clicked, right?
I do know that. I can figure that much out.
If you have, let's say, on a keyboard right here, I've got a little 10-key keyboard here. So there's a plus button, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you click that, what happens?
It should do a plus.
Right.
Should do that.
So you'll drag basically a line from the event that says plus button clicked
do a
to
plus.
Essentially, do it to an addition object.
Addition. Yeah.
Super easy. Anyone can create nice little tools.
That'd be awesome for like high school kids and stuff like that too.
Exactly. And of course, this is developed on Linux first, as this is the primary platform, with Python GTK being kind of the premier export option.
Sure.
The reason for that is that Python GTK is so easy to debug and so easy to play with, and it's just inherently open source friendly.
Right.
So you export this out, you've got the code,
and it's not hard to get GTK apps on Windows.
Exactly. So or Mac OS 10.
Okay.
Plus the GTK. So the initial alpha release supports Python GTK for desktop and Python GTK for Mamo devices. So Mamo devices, you can have little handheld stuff.
And so when you're talking so you're saying the alpha release supports an Intel desktop architecture and an ARM mobile architecture.
It's not really. It's Python, so it's.
Right.
Anything.
It generates
anything.
That is sweet.
It generates the source code.
Yeah.
That means that as a developer, you're never locked in to a development environment.
Totally.
So they could just say, you know what, this thing that Bryan created, this sucks, but we've got this cool application we already built in it, but we never want to use Bryan's thing again. Export to Python, export to C++ and Qt.
You've got the code.
And you've got the code.
So
and then you just keep going with the project.
You can even
in
use
another
this
dev
to create
environment.
like a really bare
bones
and
UI that's all hooked up.
Then go tweak it.
Yes.
Ooh. Be a really quick way to just get something going.
Yeah, a good way to prototype. But the idea is that someone as dumb as Chris.
That would be pretty bad, though, dude.
Pretty dumb, right?
Because I would not be able to code my way out of a wet paper bag.
You know.
But I could probably connect the dots out of a wet paper bag.
But you could connect the dots.
I could connect one box to another box.
Especially if they're nice and pretty colors.
Oh, bonus if they're colored.
Yeah. So, but I mean, if you look at the screenshot, it's very, very simple. It's very, very pretty looking, and that's the whole point. So I wanted to put this out there. I wanted to point people over to it. If you are a dev, because we're not doing coding with Bryan's right now, so I really had to take this opportunity to do it here. Go over to lunduke.com, find the link over to the Facebook page. Feel free to participate in the alpha. I'm definitely open to suggestions. This is definitely a very different way of going about development than I've ever found.
Man, you've been thinking on this for years.
It's not UML. It's not flow charting. It's a little different. It's like if you took like HyperCard and made it 100% visual.
So you're thinking open sourcing this thing? You're not sure yet?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know call.
Yet. Honestly,
because you've been waiting years for somebody to come out and do this.
I've been waiting years for someone.
You'd like to be able to make a little money, probably.
You know, I'm thinking about open sourcing it, but basically like charging for the individual platforms.
Oh,
so like have little
platform upgrade packs.
Yeah. So like if you want to develop a .NET WinForms app,
you should totally like Linux desktop's free.
Yeah.
If you want Android, X mount.
Yeah, just a little extra to try and
that's
cool.
Pay
for it.
That's not bad.
So anyway, so that's what I'm thinking. I would love people's feedback on this. I would love any ideas people have on this sort of development methodology. If this works for your environments, if this even makes sense. I love it myself, and I think it's something that really could set apart the current state of development from the future. You know what I mean? It's like a dividing line.
If it took off, it'd be a huge change.
A huge change.
It would lower the bar. Honestly, there's a pretty good chance that, just like really extending this out, like 15, 20 years down the road, you'd probably be putting yourself out of work.
Here's another good example. Chat room mentioned iPhone OS 4, right? So Apple came out with, let's not talk about Apple too much, but they came out with new iPhone OS. Part of their EULA basically says that you can't release applications not made in Objective-C and Cocoa. So things like Runtime Revolution or Adobe Flash and Flex, you can't make those applications and get them into the Apple App Store currently. I mean, they might make deals with some other developers. They might make it work. But
who knows? They might license it.
But. However, with this sort of thing, you could develop it in this, export to Objective-C Cocoa.
And then bring it into Xcode.
And then compile it with Xcode.
That'd be totally legit, right?
Right.
I like that.
100% legit. And it would be
that's
a
cool.
native Objective-C Xcode application.
Nice, buddy.
So that's what I'm saying. So we get the benefits of all the platforms. We get complete portability. And if in the future...
Why do you suppose nobody's attempted to do this? Is it a lot to take on?
It is.
Yeah.
It's taken me a long time to where I've been putzing with this forever.
Yeah.
But it is a lot to take on. But honestly, I think people were afraid to try something like this. There are things like UML, the Universal Markup Language, where you can visually describe some like basic logic.
Okay.
That doesn't work for actually generating a full application. It's not designed for that in mind. Flowcharting an application, that doesn't work either.
That's just for planning, right?
That's just for, right, that tells you what the logic of an application is. You know, you can say, okay, you know, you can describe itself. Oh yeah, I flowchart things out sometimes.
So, but this you're essentially building the flowchart as you make the app.
Building blocks. It's like Legos for software development. It's actual small building blocks.
God, you know what I want?
Flowchart.
Like for me, when I do a network documentation, I have to make a whole chart. And wouldn't it be nice if I'm making a line that says, this is the router, and it has a line that connects to the server. Oh, so this server's automatically, its default gateway is this. You're doing that only with software.
Right.
And that would be so nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty cool, dude.
So anyway,
I'm interested.
That's what it is.
If it takes
Go
off,
to my blog.
we ought to have a challenge, see if I can make an application.
Dude, you absolutely can. Dude,
Yeah.
Over the next couple of days, check out the next set of screenshots that's coming out and the alpha.
Okay.
There's a calculator example in it.
Powerful.
So I built a calculator with like only a handful of blocks, and it took like 3 minutes to build a full-featured calculator. And now, theoretically, every time I add a new platform, I have that calculator for multiple platforms.
You know,
calculator is a pretty simple thing, but still, that says something.
You are going to put yourself out of a job. If this works,
dude,
they're not going to need to hire
software
developers.
You know what it is? I'll be the only one left a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bryan just decimates an industry.
This doesn't get rid of software development.
No, because there's always different stuff for different stuff.
But this is going to make it so, you remember back when you were in school?
Not every solution's for every
And
problem.
they had HyperCard going around.
I was just going to say HyperCard.
This replaces things like HyperCard. This also replaces...
It's like the next generation.
This also makes it possible for you to sit down and create
I used to make HyperCard
applications for your phone, for your desktop, that do whatever you want.
That was just it. It was like in school, I would make... They had a computer class, and we'd make HyperCard applications.
Yep.
Yeah, I could run on a Mac.
So it's like when we were kids, and people had like, old Apple IIes and Commodore 64s. It was simple enough that we could tinker.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if you want to get into development, like you want to make an iPhone
really have
app,
to commit.
Or you make an Android app, it's freaking hard.
I'd have to go to training, or I'd have to get books.
You have to go through like a week of training just to be able to tinker with an iPhone app.
I don't have time for that.
So no one's going to do that. No, the kids, the little like 12-year-olds, aren't going to be able to do that. But this they
or
can do.
Or the super nerdy ones, and then you get 12-year-old kids making software in the iTunes store, and it's
super cool.
30. Well.
That's super cool.
If it was easy enough to make applications like what you're talking about, yes. But the applications that these kids are putting out now are generally, kind of low quality because they're hard to make.
Super low quality, very hard to make.
Yeah. So
but if they want,
this really lowers the bar. But
a nice simple game like a choose your own text adventure or anything like that, this would be super.
And I can't think of how many times I've wanted to make an application just to scratch one small itch, and I just. The overhead of having to learn any language to make it is never worth it.
I want to address one thing, just simply because we're talking about it. Kanzu in the chat room is basically asking, is something like that still going to be manageable when we're writing something slightly bigger, though? Yes. So here's the cool thing here.
Yeah, I was wondering about scalability if it's a huge app.
So let's take an example, right?
All right.
So you make this really big application.
Huge.
Objects can contain other objects, right? Why not? Why couldn't you make it so that, let's say you drag an object in,
right,
and you want to expand it. Double click on that object, bring it up. That object has the ability to have multiple inputs and outputs, and you can create as much logic within that object as you want. So you can have objects within objects within objects. So theoretically, instead of having to, on one main view, flowchart out, 1,000 different paths of essentially the equivalent of if statements and everything else.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Instead, you just say, connect up a file open button, connect it up to open all my pictures in this folder and convert them to JPEG. And that's just one object there.
So you don't have to do each individual component of it.
Right. Exactly. And hopefully the development environment itself, the software creator, will have enough of those built-in blocks
And
of functionality
always-
that you can do a lot of that
You
stuff.
could, if
out
it
of
took
the box.
off, you could have a community of
They
communities.
can create their own things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
And distribute them however they want.
Yeah. Forums,
Because I'm
the internet,
not a jerk.
blogs,
Yeah, blogs are fun.
app stores of different kinds.
We like blogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what that is. I just got tired of waiting for the future.
Seems like my intro really nailed this whole segment. Just saying.
I don't even remember what your intro was.
That you had an idea that could change the future of software development?
Was that what you said? Mm-hmm. Then you were totally right.
I know, but you
nailed it.
stomped all over. It's
I
cool.
did, didn't I? I feel terrible.
All right.
now.
Well, hey, I'm going to follow that.
Well,
I'm going to see what I can. I want to make an app.
Because we've been sitting around waiting for like desktops, right? Right. Like you remember
Word.
like 2 years ago
Yeah, I
we were looking
remember.
at like Ubuntu and it was brown and ugly and we were like, man, why don't you have Compiz and Barrel and 3D effects yet?
Right.
And we're like, why isn't the future here?
You know, one of the things that I used to say.
I feel like now the future's about here.
If
but
you-
missing a few parts.
Well,
just a few small pieces.
I would say this. I would say a lot of stuff is catching up to what you're talking about. I feel like in a lot of ways, at least for somebody at my level, software development is one of these things that is not getting. It's getting way easier, obviously, but
also way harder.
yeah, exactly. It's getting way more complex and way harder. And like stuff's coming out now that's making what like we're doing right now. What we're doing live broadcasting HD picture is infinitely complex, but figure outable. With software development, it's like to me, I'm just like, oh, that's too much. But with this, I could like it's like I could still have a life and learn how to do this.
Yep.
I like it,
Exactly.
dude.
Now
Yeah.
look at our website, right?
Right?
Now with something like this,
Yeah.
you can visually lay out our website. All the buttons you could tie up to actions,
Right.
have things move around with animations just by visually drawing them. So you can create WordPress style blog infrastructures with very little coding. And it could be a desktop app or a web app. So
Yeah.
you could then take your blog
Yeah.
and it's now a native iPhone application or a native Android application or a native Migo application.
Yeah. That'd be powerful.
Seriously.
Power through simplicity. Here's your tag. All right, Brian. Well, that's pretty awesome.
Actually, my original tag that I came up with was "Here's the expletive future." that was
the original?
That was my original working slogan there.
All right, people, if you're interested in checking that out, head over to Lunduke.com and get links and
That's where
blog
the good,
posts there.
That's where the good stuff is.
All right, buddy. Awesome stuff, Brian.
Thanks.
You're welcome.